LaPorta drives it deep left field. Cut this off. It's over. Indians win it 7-6.
Welcome to Fastball and Finance with your host, Matt LaPorta.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining Matt LaPorta, Fastball and Finance. And we have a great guest today, Travis Hafner, who's also a really good friend of mine. Travis, thanks for being on the show with us.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. This guy is probably one of my most favorite teammates that I've ever played with. Travis is probably one of the most humble guys that I've known and played with and that has had the success that he's had. It's really been truly a blessing, man, and an honor to get to know you and your family and watch you play and play with you. And so again, we're grateful to have you on the show tonight. So I know you're from North Dakota. I gotta go. There's not a whole lot of baseball, I wouldn't imagine, being played up there, especially maybe when you were kind of coming through. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yeah. So I didn't play high school baseball. I just played Legion baseball. And I remember one year it snowed quite a ways into the spring. And I think people are going into the state tournaments with like 4-1 records.
4-1.
Basically, season started for like the playoffs.
I mean, I'm a Florida guy. I've never been in the snow like that. So what do you do when it's snowing? And how would you even prepare and to prep to play baseball?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you're in the gym playing catch and you're hitting BP in the cage, so there's not really a whole lot you can do. Yeah, I mean, I guess you go outside when it's 30 degrees and that's your summer, so you go out and start playing.
No, thank you, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's not how baseball is meant to be played. That's for sure.
Talk about being stiff, man. Blowing out obliques and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so your high school didn't have a baseball team, and I also kind of with the size, maybe our viewers don't know how big you are, but I mean, you got to be what, 6'4"-ish, 6'5"-ish, 250, 260. From the looks of you, I would think you would play football. Is football a big sport in North Dakota there?
Yeah, I mean, they have 9-man and 11-man, and it's pretty popular up there. Yeah, high school football is big, and high school basketball is big. Those are probably the two big sports up there. Football, we actually co-opt with about 4 other high schools to make a football team. It was crazy. Yeah, so just being from a high school of like 24 kids, I mean, you just combined with 4 other schools to make a football team. But growing up on a farm, fall was our busy season and harvest season, so my dad always had me help out with harvest, and that was kind of like an everyday after school thing, so I never played football.
How about that? So how did you get into baseball?
It was something that I always liked. I collected baseball cards. I watched baseball. We had like a satellite dish, which is crazy to say you had a satellite dish. People nowadays would be like, what's a satellite dish?
Yeah.
You'd like have like satellite G4 and you'd like the actual thing would like rotate and turn.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
But so we got like the Orioles station and the Braves station. So I grew up watching like Cal Ripken and Eddie Murray with the Orioles and some of the Braves guys, and
the crime dog.
I was like baseball. I would always go in my backyard and hit rocks, and I don't know, just something about baseball that drew me to it.
How about that? Yeah, that's fascinating. And it just goes to show you it doesn't. You don't have to be from a big city or a place where everybody's noticing you to get to the big leagues. So a lot of people don't know this, and I think hopefully I'm correct on this, but you were the valedictorian of your class. So
right.
You're a pretty smart guy, right?
Well, we had 8 kids in my class, so my chances were better than most people's. 12% chance to make it.
Yeah, I wanted to let you say that. I didn't want to be the one to say that, but yeah, but still.
I tell people I finished in the top 10 of my class.
Out of 8 kids. That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's funny. And that explains why I think that explains why you beat me in chess. And I'm probably not much of a match, it seems like, right now.
Well, chess isn't like purely like book smart. There's some street smarts in there, which I definitely have you there. I enjoy making traps and watch you walk into them.
Oh, I do walk right into him. I think I'm like, this guy's just playing with me right now. Oh man.
Sometimes you just throw the bait out there, and it's almost like fishing 7. Like you'll throw the bait out there and you kind of like pulling the string along, and sooner or later you're going to bite.
Yeah. Hey, so some of the listeners are going to go, "Who's 7? What's 7?" Meaning referring to me. Explain to the listeners why you call me 7. And you might not really know. It just started happening.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to think about it. Was it just that? Was it that your number, or was that how many Hall of Fames you're in?
Yeah, that was my number, but I wonder if it was. Remember Mike Redmond? I think he would always yell at me like, "Go get you a sandwich, 7," or something after batting practice. In his old Red's voice, and then I think it just kind of maybe stuck with you.
Yeah, you've been 7 now for like 7 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think it'll always be 7 years, right? I don't think we'll change it from there. So when you were growing up and you're in high school, did you work out much, or was it just? I mean, you were just so strong from farming.
I always liked to play sports. Like I practiced a lot of basketball. Like I always go and shoot hoops, and I'd always go practice baseball. So I was just playing a lot of sports. I really didn't start working out until my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't even know how to work out. I just started lifting a little bit, but
now you're an animal.
Now I'm an animal. Yep. Baseball, basketball, and track were my 3 sports that I did in high school. And I really didn't start working out until we got to college. And then when we got to college, our coaches there, like, they showed us a whole nother level of work ethic. So that was a big adjustment.
So you went to school, JUCO in Arkansas, right?
It was Kansas City, Kansas, and Southern Kansas.
It was in Kansas.
Valley County. Yep.
Got it. So how many years did you play there, and what was your experience like at a JUCO? I know some parents question, well, should my kid go to JUCO or should he go to professional baseball? Like, what would your advice be, the pro route compared to JUCO or vice versa?
So I went to 2 years of junior college, and I loved it. I had so many options. By going there, I wasn't highly recruited coming out of North Dakota. I didn't really have much in line or in terms of 4-year offers. So I went to JUCO. After JUCO, I had options to go to a Division I school. I signed with Texas Tech, but ultimately didn't go there. And then I also had pro teams looking at me, and I got drafted by the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
So kind of a rule of thumb that I tell kids: if you're coming out of high school, I would want to be minimum a top 10 round pick, and probably the same out of junior college. And then, once you got to a 4-year, and you've been there 3 or 4 years, then you can sign and get your chance to play. But I feel like unless an organization invests a top 10 round pick in you, it's too easy for them to release you if you have a bad year. But if they have a little something invested in you being a top 10 round pick, they're going to give you 3 or 4 years and multiple chances. They're going to send you to instructional league, and that's going to be your best route to have multiple chances to develop, and to have a legitimate chance to become a big league player.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. That's really good. So you get drafted in what year? What year is that? 2002, 3?
I got drafted in '97 in the 31st round after my freshman year. And then I went back for my sophomore year, and then I signed right before the draft my sophomore year.
Gotcha. I gotcha. So you're playing in the Rangers organization down in good old Port Charlotte. Were you ever down there?
Almost 7. Oh, about 6 years, I think we were there.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I remember watching you play in somewhere down there, whatever it was, the big leagues or in the backfield minor league games. Yeah, we only used to live like 5 minutes from there. So we'd always go to the games and get all the home run balls to use to practice with. Try to make it out there where you guys were at.
Yeah. No, it was cool. Even when I first signed, I went to rookie ball. So Port Charlotte has a Gulf Coast rookie ball team, and then the Florida State League team, which is high A, they play at night. So you're kind of in the same complex at different spots and at different times. But it was cool as an 18 to 20-year-old to look over and see these like kids that are 22, 23, pretty much 2 or 3 years above you or more advanced than you, and kind of just see what that progression looks like. And you can kind of see like, okay, this is the level that I need to get to at least get to high A. And then above that, you have double A, triple A and the big leagues. So it was cool to just kind of have those older guys that you could, much like the same you did in high school, we would go watch those Florida State League games just to get a feel for what better competition was like.
Yeah, definitely. What was your experience like when you were, being in Port Charlotte and then just being kind of that overall in that minor league experience?
So I remember, like I love baseball. So I think I signed and then I went out and played. And after 2 weeks, they threw like a paycheck for, a couple $100 on my chair. And I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. Like it felt like stealing money. Like, wow, they just paid me to play baseball. So, it was great. Like you develop some great friendships. You always hear the horror stories about traveling on a bus, but it's really not that bad. It's fun. You're like playing baseball every night. You're going around and seeing the country and seeing different ballparks, and, minor league stadiums entertain pretty well. So, you're playing in front of a couple thousand people every night, and shoot, it's great. Like I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think minor league baseball gets a bad reputation. I always enjoyed it too. Sometimes some of the bus rides might have got a little long, but outside of that, especially some of the fields nowadays are so nice. It's like, man, this is, I guess back in the day it used to be terrible, but not so much now.
Yeah, the fields have come a long way, and now you'll see state-of-the-art fields that hold like 6,000 to 8,000 fans and phenomenal venues.
Yeah, man. So at what point in your career did you develop the name Pronk?
Would have been so I spent my first 2 months in the big leagues with Texas, and then I got traded to Cleveland, and I got to spring training with Cleveland. It would have been going into my first full season or my rookie season. And some of the guys said, when I was playing with Texas, they were talking on the bench, like, what do you think of this Hafner kid? And they're like, he's kind of a project. And then, so a couple people called me project, and then a couple people just called me like Big Donkey, just being a big guy. And so we had some guys call me Pronky, some our project, and some call me Donkey, and we just put them together for Pronky and then shortened it up to Pronk.
How cool is that? Like to have such a nickname that is so prominent. For God's sakes, you were getting, later on in your career, you're getting candy bars made after you, and by the way, I think I had one of those candy bars that you gave me. It might have been 10 years old, but I had one when we played together in Cleveland, and they weren't bad.
Devin, I wouldn't give you a candy bar that was over 8 years old.
I appreciate that. But yeah, I got a kick out of that, man. Do you still have any of your Pronk bars out there?
I think we have some of them. They discontinued them, and
I can't believe they discontinued them.
Mally's Chocolate had like a crunch bar, and then essentially the crunch bar just became the Pronk bar. And then once they discontinue that, it's just back to the Crunch Bar right now. But remember, my agent called and said like, "Hey, this candy bar or this chocolate company wants to do a candy bar," and I was like, "Man, I want to try it. I want to make up the recipe and do all this stuff." And my agent was just like, "I think they got the candy bar made. It's just, do you want a candy bar?" And I was like, try it. I tried it, and it's legitimately like the best candy bar I've ever had in my life. So I was like, okay, well, this is perfect. I would, what do I know about making a candy bar? So
Yeah. Is that company still in business? Mally?
yeah,
Is it Mally's?
Mally's chocolate. It's like legitimately some of the best like chocolates and candies you've ever had in your life.
Are they up there in Cleveland?
Yep.
I'll have to get some, let's see if we can pull out the old Pronk bars, see if they can get a couple made for us, reminisce.
I think all they'd have to do is just throw a wrapper on the Crunch Bar. But I mean, like, as far as like Christmas gifts and stuff, they're phenomenal. They're so good.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll have to check them out, man. I'm a big chocolate fan here. So is this true too? I don't know. Did you have some like beef jerky too?
Yeah.
Yeah, beef jerky. I mean, this guy's got a whole supermarket going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was really into targeting like health food.
Chocolate, beef jerky. I didn't see any beef jerky sticks. What happened to those? They didn't make it out of production too much.
I think like one specific grocery store sold them, so they weren't out there that much. And then, I mean, I would get like kind of a limited supply, and then I'd always take them into the clubhouse, and everybody would like eat it really quick.
Yeah, you had fat teammates like me coming in there and crushing your candy bars and Slim Jims.
Right, but the beef jerky wasn't bad. I mean, it was solid.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. No, that's good stuff. So you got traded in 2002 to the Indians, right? Is that right?
Yeah, the off season. Yeah, so it would have been 2002.
In the off season. So you play with them, and then kind of fast forward to 2005. You have a pretty incredible year, right? You finish. Am I accurate here? You finished 5th in the MVP voting.
I'm not sure exactly what year, but 2005 and 2006 were both good years.
Like you were dominating, man. I think 2006 you finished in the 8th, in MVP voting. I mean, 2006, did you feel like your 2006 season was better than your 2005 season outside of being hurt in 2006?
Yeah, so 2006, I got hurt like September 1st. I got beaten and broke my hand, so I missed the last month of the season. But 2006 was a better season, but our team also wasn't as good. 2005, we were in the playoff hunt until essentially it was like the last game of the year.
Yeah.
And I had a good second half, so that's probably where the little higher finish in the voting came in.
Gotcha. I mean, so I kind of want to run over your 2006 season, man, because I was looking at the stuff today, and I was mind blowing. I mean, you had 100 walks. I mean, being a power hitter, I think that's a lot of walks. You had 117 RBIs. You hit 42 home runs. Your on-base percentage was .439. I think total bases are 299. I mean, and you finished 308. You finished, 308. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that's unbelievable. That kind of season, and that's the season you had 5 Grand Slams before the All-Star break in 06.
Yep.
I mean, walk us through that. Were you even did you even know that was going on, that you had that many Grand Slams, or you just kind of like just out there hitting, not even thinking about it?
Yeah, a lot of times you have no idea of anything until like you tie something or beat something, and then usually after the game, when you're speaking with the media, they'll bring it to your attention, and then they'll always ask, "Did you have any idea?" Which, of course, you don't. Like, unless you were to have like a random baseball almanac book and just be looking up every random stat. But yeah, I think once I got to 4, maybe that tied it. So then at 4, I was aware of it. And then once I hit 5, then they told me that broke it. And then I knew that 6 was the record. So it was cool to tie that. And it was really just a completely freak thing. Like you can't ever expect to, if you have 1 grand slam in a season, that's usually pretty good. So it was just one of those things where, I mean, everything just lined up perfectly, and it's not something that you would ever duplicate again in your career.
Yeah, I mean, you hit 6 grand slams. I mean, that's insane. I mean, you joined a couple Hall of Famers, Ernie Banks and Don Mattingly and Jim Gentile, I think, for tying it. Or they're not tied with you at 6 now, right?
I think Mattingly, me and Mattingly are at 6. And then I think some of those Hall of Famers that you mentioned definitely have more career Grand Slams. Quite a few. I'm just not sure single season wise. The only person I'm really aware of single season wise is Mattingly.
Yeah. Man, I just think that's incredible, bro. So you have that year, and then you get signed again in 2007, right?
Yep.
So walk us through that, right? Like, what was that moment like? You've busted your butt, you've worked so hard, and kind of that fruit of your labors is paying off right now with a contract. Is a nice contract, and what was your thought process going in? Like, did you ever think you'd get to that point? And then what was the first thing you bought with the money?
Well, I don't know. Like, I never really, like, my goal wasn't to play baseball to be able to get a contract or to get any money. Like, your goal is just, I want to play with the best players in the world and have a chance to win a World Series. So that was always kind of my motivation. So it was just like, once you get like a contract offer, I mean, even my first contract, it didn't even seem real to look at like the paper and say like, wow, they're offering me this much money to play baseball. And then at one point I turned it down, and like, you're just like, I can't believe I just turned down that amount of money. Dad would slap me right now if he knew that I did this. But I guess the negotiation part can be, that can be really stressful.
Oh yeah.
Where, you have some people in your ear saying there's no way you can do that. And then you're like, man, how do I turn down this amount of money? And, it's not as easy, once you're in it as opposed to on the outside looking in, it seems like, oh, that's a no-brainer. But you get a lot of people pulling you in a lot of different directions in those negotiations. But ultimately, I mean, it's such a blessing to be able to make a good living playing baseball.
Yeah. And you played it so well. I mean, I would have to say, like, really, it was you and Big Papi, man, that kind of defined what a DH role looks like. You guys did it so well and for so long. And so, that's something that stands out a lot to me. So you've had some success with the Indians, and they finally, I think in 2007, they, maybe it was 2006, they named a section of the stadium after you, Pronkville.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's got candy bars, Slim Jims, Pronkville. I mean, this guy's a legend in Ohio.
Well, it was the upper deck. It wasn't like the good seats.
Yeah, but that's where you hit them. You're hitting them in the upper deck, bro.
No, that was really cool. I mean, that was awesome by the Indians to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And it was so cool. I mean, I think it was still there when I played. It was still up when I was there playing. from my.
Yeah, I think eventually it was like, well, you haven't hit one up there in 4 years. We're gonna take it down.
Oh, that's funny.
I think the joke was after a few years that they needed to name like the front row, like the front row just over the fence, like that was the new Bronco.
The little fin scraper. Oh man, that's awesome. So, what was your best experience playing in the big leagues? Your most memorable experience of it?
Probably 07. That was the only year I got to experience the playoffs. So just kind of going through that. And I mean, it's fun to watch, like the playoffs are going on right now. But just how draining those games are. Like, I mean, you can, play 2 weeks in a row in the regular season and it's no big deal. But like each playoff game, like you're so focused on every pitch and so much is riding on every pitch that, I mean, you're just exhausted. Like during the playoffs, I'd be waking up at noon, and normally you're up at 9 a.m., but you're so exhausted and so mentally beat. It just takes like that long to recover.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't imagine playing in the playoffs. I think that would be so much fun. I feel like every year I watch it with like excitement, it's especially because how hard the guys work to get to that point and how long the season is and how mentally tough you got to be to make it that far. So it's I can't imagine actually playing in a playoff in the big leagues. Who was one of your favorite or a couple of your favorite teammates that you ever played with outside of me?
Well, Seven, you're the obvious one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you miss most about the game when you're out is just your teammates and, you're with them like every day. They become like you're basically your family. And, I played 10 years with Cleveland and we just had tons of phenomenal teammates there. And then I finished up with the Yankees. So that was really cool to be there and have a chance to play with Jeter and Mariano Rivera and Andy Pettit, and just those guys and see, the type of role models they are and the type of leaders they are. And that was just a great experience to, just to be around those guys and learn from those guys.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got to imagine, though, that's got to be a pretty awesome feeling suiting up with the Yankee pinstripes on. I think that, at least for me, I think that would have been always one team that I would have eventually liked to have played for, be it for a half a season or a year, just to say, hey, I got to wear the Yankees pinstripe. I think they're just one of those iconic teams,
Yeah, and it's tough because that's kind of the one team that you always look forward to playing and you always wanted to beat when you're not with the Yankees. You kind of just learn to really dislike the Yankees and you want to beat them at all costs. And all of a sudden you're looking at potentially joining them and it's like, man, how can I get over this? Like I've learned to dislike this team so much, but it was really a great experience. Like you were talking about, it was, like, I guess growing up on a farm in North Dakota, like the thought of being in New York with 8 million people or whatever it is was a little intimidating, but you kind of embrace it and it was phenomenal. You learn like where all the good restaurants are. And we really had a great year in New York and it was so much fun to play for the Yankees. And it's an experience you'll never forget.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's great. What do you think led to the success that you had in the big leagues? What's something that you could share with kids and with parents and coaches right now that you think would help lead to those kids being a little bit better than they are today?
I would just say without a doubt, it was work ethic. I think it was just every day. What can I do to get better? But I love to play baseball. I watch baseball. I was pretty consumed with it, but obviously in North Dakota, you're not playing it a ton, but Kind of my motto was I never wanted to look back and say if only I had worked harder.
Mm-hmm. I remember you telling me that all the time.
Actually, it almost worked the reverse for me, where I think I did so much stuff. Like I hit so much and worked out a lot, and like I did so much stuff that it ultimately caused shoulder problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of was like the surgery that kind of really, I guess, kind of put a bit of a wrench in my career and it slowed me down quite a bit. But I think without the work that I put in, like I never would have even got to the point to have a chance to play in the big leagues.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important. I think, and it's work that you put in by yourself or with the coach. I think I see a lot of kids these days, they go out and they hire their hitting coach or their pitching coach, and they work an hour or 2 hours a week, and they think that they're good. And it's like, that's not good enough. You got to work. You got to get out there and work hard, man. You got to bust your butt. You got to be better than – you got to work harder than other people if you want to get to the top. So that's great to hear. So tell us a little bit about what are you doing now, now that you're not playing baseball? Obviously I know what you're doing, but I think people would like to hear what you're doing now and how you're still staying involved with baseball.
Right now I'm a special assistant with the Indians. So I do scouting. I do a lot of scouting with hitters as far as amateur Latin America hitters who are 15, 16 years old. I do scouting for draft eligible hitters in high school and college. And then as far as like big league free agents and trade targets and stuff like that, I'll do scouting on video of all those guys. And then in spring training, I'll go out and work with hitters. During the season, I'll travel around to some of the minor league affiliates and hang out with those clubs and just kind of be a resource for any hitters that want to talk hitting or mechanics or approach and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, as you're scouting players, what's kind of one or two things that you're really looking for in a player?
So I like to watch their batting practice, and I like to see their athleticism and their bat speed. For me, that helps determine their potential. Like if a kid is athletic, he has a higher ceiling. And if a kid has, the more bat speed a kid has, the more potential he has to be a better hitter. Don't always work out that way. But I think that's why it's so important for kids to play multiple sports to develop athleticism.
Yes.
Because that helps you have more potential. And then I think mechanics, I think most mechanics can be corrected, but I mean, the things that I always preach are that a guy gets ready on time, he gets to a strong position to hit, and he's balanced. Like I think those three things are the key to just three basic keys to a swing for me.
Yeah, no, that's huge, man. I think sometimes, we can overcomplicate hitting and like you said, you get through your three things, and then, and the other part that you talked about is the athleticism that I really like. I think a lot of kids specialize in one specific thing at a young age, and they're not necessarily developing as an athlete, right? They're just kind of one-dimensional. And I think it's important to develop that athleticism.
Yeah, I mean, it's a topic we could legitimately talk about for an hour. I mean, you see it more and more nowadays where kids are 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and they're playing travel baseball or travel whatever, and they do it year round. There's pressure from coaches that, if you don't do like fall baseball, you won't have a spot on the team in the spring, whatever. I mean, so you're seeing kids make such a big commitment and they're playing year round in baseball, and, by the time they're 11, 12 years old, they're burnt out.
Yeah.
So I always encourage kids to play multiple sports. For example, if you're a soccer player or basketball player, that's going to help you be an infielder because your footwork's going to be better. I think basketball is a great sport, just the running, the jumping, the plyometrics. It carries over into baseball really well. You know what? And, for your kids too, if your kids are like 8, 10, 12 years old, it's good to like have seasons, play different sports, like make them miss the sport, and then they're really excited to play it. So if you
Yeah.
play baseball year round, it's just kind of like it becomes a job. But, if you play baseball in your season and then you don't play it again until the next year, like kids excited, they can't wait to play baseball.
That's it, man. Yeah. I mean, I remember playing all different sports, and, I didn't play baseball all year round, and, I still made it and went to a good school. And yeah, I'd love to see more kids just kind of play multiple sports and not just be so one-dimensional with just baseball or just whatever it is, hockey or, whatever it may be. A few more questions I got for you, man. What is, what was your toughest pitcher you faced, or who was your toughest pitcher you faced?
I think it depended on the year. Certain years, like the Cy Young winner had, say like Zach Greinke, the year he won the Cy Young, like was incredible, like with his location and fastball and slider. And then, you face him the next year and he's still one of the best pitchers, but he's not like the Cy Young guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say Mariano Rivera just consistently, like there really wasn't anything you could do as a left-handed hitter unless he made a mistake, and he never really made a mistake with his location. His location was just so good that there wasn't anything you could do. If you hit the ball hard, you pulled it fall, and if you hit it fair, it broke your bat.
I know. I remember facing him a couple times. I remember playing in Yankee Stadium. He threw me one of his cutters that never really cut, and it just kind of sawed me off. But I hit it hard enough to get it right over the second base head. I got a single and 2 RBIs out of it. I was like, hey, thank you very much.
Better than I ever did.
What was your favorite stadium to play in?
I really like Jacobs Field at Cleveland. I like Safeco Field out in Seattle.
Yeah, that's a great place.
But there's actually, like, nowadays, I mean, there's so many new ballparks. They're all fun to go to.
Yeah.
Fenway had an incredible atmosphere. Yankee Stadium had an incredible atmosphere. Leach Park was like a little unique and different, and they're all pretty good.
Yeah. Last question. Actually, two more. This one is, what's one kind of financial advice that you would give to young players that maybe just signed their first big contract while playing professional baseball, or guys that are just getting drafted? Like, what's a piece of advice that you're like, you know what, this is kind of something I stand behind?
Yeah, so this is something that I'm like very passionate about because I made a lot of these mistakes. We could go down the list, but essentially,
maybe another show we will.
It'd be another show. Don't buy too big of a house. Don't waste your money on like an expensive car. I think I bought a car one time and then had to trade it in 2 years later with 10,000 miles, and I got 40% of what I paid for it. And you just really realize that a lot of these things you feel like you need as an athlete are just a complete waste of money. Like, you'd be so much better off to just be practical and save money, and just, essentially you need to make more than you spend.
Yeah.
But essentially just like really think about your purchases and, what's important, what's not important, and don't feel pressure to, to have like the super high-end sports car, or to have like an extravagant home. Just make good financial decisions. And I would surround yourself with a couple people that you can ask and will tell you good advice. Not like, hey man, you need to go get that, Rolex watch. Like, surround yourself with good people who can give you sound financial advice.
Yeah, sorry, we're laughing because we can see each other right here, so we had a little funny joke there. Yeah, I think that's big, man. I don't think there's enough sound people out there that give advice to kids, to young players, that are speaking, kind of speaking life and speaking wisdom and speaking from experience, right? The experience that you have is different from a financial advisor who never really went through making that amount of money at age 25 years old, right? A financial advisor, whatever, he probably made it when he was 40. So he's more mature. He's been through it. He's been through some things. but it's tough as a young player, like you said, to know and to deal with that pressure. Well, man, I'm making $5 million, or I'm making $10 million, or whatever it may be. I can afford this house, or I want to buy the Ferrari, all these things. And like you said, that being practical, I think, is a really good way of it, explaining it. Just be practical, right? Like,
yeah. And you may be really excited to get the Ferrari, but it comes with some severe humble pie when you go to sell the Ferrari and you see what it's worth, or when you go to sell the home and you keep having to drop the price of your home. Like, that's some serious humble pie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I mean, we've all, and that's the thing. I think, we've all taken our nicks on the chin. I mean, I've had deals that didn't work out, and it stinks. It really it stinks. But the only way, you got to learn from it, and then hopefully we can share our experiences with other people. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we're doing these podcasts, is eventually we'll get to the point where we can share our experiences with other players that will help them, not make those mistakes, not make a 6-figure mistake, or lose 50,000 or 10,000, whatever it may be, So last question. I'd like to, I always like finishing with this. What's one story that you could tell our listeners about me that was whatever, one thing you remember that was funny, stupid, whatever it may be, one thing about me?
It might be tough to pinpoint. One like off the top of my head, like I know I'm going to miss out on like the best ones that I can think of. I do remember I think you hit an opposite field home run off David Price on like a check swing one time. Everybody was just like, how in the world did he just hit a check swing opposite field home run? I don't know if you remember that. It was in Jacobs Field, but it was impressive. And then I also think in spring training, when you set like the all-time Major League Baseball s'mores record, eating the most s'mores.
I think that one's going to go down in history. I had weigh-in the next day too. Didn't fare well for me.
I feel like I'm missing like the 10 most obvious 7 stories. Like I'm just drawing a blank right now.
I remember one time when Kerry Wood, he took all my clothes and hung them up from like the ceiling for some reason. When you're in spring training.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure there's good ones. We'll next time we have you on the show, I'll make you think about them before.
What did you have to dress up as like your rookie year? Yeah, rookie dress up.
Yeah, I dressed up. It's probably, I dressed up as a lifeguard, a woman lifeguard. So
I do remember that.
Yeah.
You wore that well though, 7. I'll give you that.
No, I had the junk in the trunk going on, so I remember we had a bad year that year, and Segi, I think, was walking around with us, and he was hot. He's like, dude, what are we doing? We just got drum rolled out here, and we're out here parading around these kids in the bars and stuff.
Is that in Chicago?
No, it was in Boston.
Okay.
So we made the loop around the stadium, going to each bar. Oh my God, it was funny. It's kind of like one of those things. Is like, do we have fun? Do we not? We just got crushed. So, whatever, man. It was all a good experience. Well, Travis, I really appreciate you being on the show, man. This was fun.
Well, thanks for having me on, 7. You're an animal. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, man.
Good luck with the podcast.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, and we'll get you back on here again. We'll do some. We'll start diving into some other stuff, and I think you got a lot of wisdom to share with young players. So, all right. Well, have a good night. Thanks again.